All right, here are the questions on Extra Time coming up on the screen, which you will be reading them from today, so help me out, boys.
I can't.
So, Extra Time. Oh,
hello, welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. Stevie and Shaka are here, and we've also got Nedum and Mark joining us. Can we have the first question, please?
Who's reading it?
Take your time.
Where's the music?
Oh, here we are.
My goodness.
I mean, it was a
Okay.
question.
Do you expect this to be a busy January transfer window, especially for players seeking playing time leading up to next year's World Cup?
Oh, that's an
That has got Mark Ogden's name written all over it.
I do think it'll be busy. I think because quite a few clubs have got a bit of money to spend. I think City have got money to spend. Liverpool have. I think Liverpool are quite keen to get somebody in. And like the question says, you know, a lot of players want to play in a World Cup. I mean, Kobbie Mainoo, obviously, I think he might be struggling right now to get in the England World Cup squad, but he's not going to play. If he's at Man United, he's getting, 5 minutes off the bench if he's lucky. So I do think that a lot of players will want to move in January. I think there's enough money swirling around for that to happen. So, yeah, I think it'll be quite busy, especially after the African Nations finishes in mid-January. I think that's when clubs will get their players back and they'll realise who can go, who can stay. So, yeah, I think it'll be a busy January, busier than most Januaries, I think.
Okay, we'll have you covered for it here on ESPN FC. Next question, please. Okay, James Handel says, Manchester United, a better team without Bruno.
Well, the team we saw today? The team we saw today, please?
Team we saw today, guys shaking their head here, Nedum.
Nope.
No, absolutely not. You know, he's got 5 goals for them, 7 assists. I think he's their top goal scorer. No, absolutely not. I think the way that we watched him in that second half, if it was going to be like that between now and the end of the season, they're finishing probably the same position they were in at the end of last year. Not for me at all.
Not for you, Mark?
I can see United being better without Bruno Fernandes, but I think they're better if they can get a holding midfielder that enables him to play further up the field. If you've got Bruno Fernandes playing alongside Casemiro, then you can find a way to be better without Bruno Fernandes because that's not his best position. So what they need to do is find a holding midfielder or two who can play in that position to enable Bruno Fernandes to play where he's most effective. So ideally keep him, but if they let him go, then it's not the biggest thing in the world because they can replace him. And Nedum's wagging the finger at me, so I think that's the disagreement.
Go on, Nedum.
No, it's just because Mark's a great journalist. So what he's tried to do there is fill the page. But the answer's no. You know, that's all we're trying to get to. The answer's no. They don't have these players you're talking about. So the answer's no.
The answer's no.
Can I just chuck a name at? Let me just chuck a name at you here. Felipe Coutinho. When Liverpool let Coutinho go, he was their best player. The money they got for Coutinho this time, Virgil van Dijk and Alisson Becker, they were better without Coutinho. Now you've just got to give Man United the belief that they can do what Liverpool did and find 2 world-class players for the fee of 1. But that's what I'm saying. When a top player goes, you can replace him if you've got the right people coming in.
Yeah.
120 million for Coutinho?
Yeah, it kind of tips the scale a little bit.
Yeah. But it's no from you guys as well.
Yeah, I'm Nedum fully on this.
All right. Next question. Nice stuff. Return of the bread.
Is this a new thing, or is this just a one-off today?
Just a one-off today.
I figured.
When does Newcastle start to question the Eddie Howe project? Shaka, they have so much talent. How are they still not able to grind out any results? It's maddening.
It is. Listen, I think we're a long way away from questioning the Eddie Howe project. I think as the question is phrased, it is maddening. And I think you saw some of Newcastle's issues in the game today. Once Newcastle get punched in the chin, they don't know how to respond. Manchester United had their best play of the game once they scored. The goal came against the run of play pretty much. And then Manchester United dominated for 10 or 15 minutes. Whenever Newcastle concede, they just seem to go back into a shell and seem to come apart. Whereas most teams respond, Newcastle don't. And we were talking last week about Newcastle and the points dropped from winning positions. I think 13 was the number. If that were half, if Newcastle, and again, they should have beaten Manchester United today, in my opinion. So if you take 6 out of those drop points from winning positions, take another 3, and this is not even looking back at all the other games where they've dropped points, all of a sudden, Newcastle in the top 4. So you just feel that they are close to being a team that should be in the top 4 consistently. It's just hard to explain why whenever they concede, they just seem to go to pieces. And I don't understand how that happens or how you fix it?
Who's got more talent overall, Mark? Manchester United or Newcastle?
Squad-wise, I think Newcastle have got more depth. I think they've got, certainly midfield-wise, they've got a much better midfield than United. I think up front they've got more options. I think Eddie Howe's defence, they haven't had a good transfer window for about 3 years, Newcastle, because they skipped out about 2 or 3 over the last 18 months. And this time, while they got players in, it was all kind of destroyed by the Alexander Isak situation. So I think if you give Eddie Howe a proper transfer window where you get players in early and you get players out when you want them to get out, then I think give him that chance. But he's basically working with a lot of the players he had when he arrived or within 12 months of arriving. So I think he's a top manager, Eddie Howe, and I just think he maybe needs more backing from the club and a bit settled behind the scenes with a director of football or sporting director. I think he'll do a better job. But yeah, in terms of your question, I think they've got a better squad than Man United, but they are underperforming right now. But they do have injuries, obviously they're missing quite a few. So I think Eddie Howe's fine. I think it'd be a surprise if he's under pressure.
Better late than never. Got the questions now.
Last question.
Nice.
No, there's 3 more. Nedum, this Wolves team is a bit like QPR in 2012. What are Wolves players feeling day to day, knowing they are going down?
Oh boy.
I'm just gonna say that in May 2012, QPR stayed up. So I don't think this is the same as the Wolves side. But what I would say to counter that is the QPR side of the next season, in the 2013 season, yes, similarities there. Because we went, I think it was 15 or 16 games without a win. But what I would say was that we were probably in the double figures for points because we were drawing a lot of games of football. And at times we thought, we deserve more. This Wolves side in this moment deserves everything it's getting on a week-to-week basis. You can see that there's not connection amongst the players, amongst the staff, amongst the fans. Like, fans are protesting during games now. The stadium's getting half empty. They played against Brentford last week, a Brentford side who hadn't won in probably 5 or 6 games, and at times they were completely outplayed. You could see that there's so many mistakes, they're so low on confidence, and a ton of players who arrived in the summer who you can see haven't settled either, and the fans don't see them, they don't appreciate them. So everything's gone wrong at this moment in time. And I think after the game, it was Matt Doherty, I think it was, that made a comment about how do you want to be remembered at the club? Are we going to be a coward? Are you going to stand up? Are you going to fight? And so on. But he can say that because he's been there for over 300 games. But somebody who literally arrived in the summer, who hasn't settled, who's watching his team lose every single week, who doesn't have a connection with the city, the club, the anything, you start to see the game in a different way because you don't have the club's history and the same feel for it. And I found that, unfortunately, when I was at QPR the next year, when we went down, you have some players who are great professionals, like, say, Clint Hills, Sean Derrys and a few others who came up through the Football League, but they're also playing on the same pitch as someone like an Esteban Granero or Julio Cesar. And when the players see football in a different way, when you are essentially in the trenches, you approach things in a different manner. One might want to drop off and defend and throw everything at the ball, and the other will do that, but wants to get on the ball and try and win games of football as well. As soon as there's a split, you can never really get that back, and teams really do struggle because the identity is not set on the field or off the field, and I think that's what we're seeing with Wolves at this moment.
I joined Notts County around Christmas time, and they were in a similar sort of position where everybody kind of figured and knew they were going down. It wasn't mathematically certain, but everybody kind of knew. And when I went into the dressing room every day, or on the field and the training every day, the biggest thing in everybody, most of the players' minds were, what's going to happen to me next year? So because of going down, so many things change at football clubs. We always talk about, the staff behind the scenes, they always get let go. So you've got all the staff behind the scenes worrying what they're doing next year. You've got a large portion of the playing staff in the same position because they're not sure what's happening next year. And so all week, that's what's, you're trying to work and you're trying to do things in training, but everybody's concentration's on next year. And then game day was, for a little short period when you were getting ready for the game, you could see a different sort of outlook. It was, you know what, let's give it a go. But unfortunately, the problem with that is because of what had happened all during the week, as soon as something went wrong during the game, the heads just went. So Wolves right now, that to me is probably what they're all thinking. Right now, they're all thinking mostly individually, what's happening to me next year? And then when they do step on the field and they give it a go, because you can see they're trying, but then when something goes wrong, they lose a goal, or even worse, somebody makes a horrendous mistake, it just sucks the life out of everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, could I just carry on for a second?
Course.
Because Stevie's made me reminisce a bit more. They've lost 15 games of football, I believe, so far this season. That's a lot of defeats. You don't really have a connection as much with people when you're losing every single week. And the way that football goes, in my opinion, is when you're winning, everybody's got something in common. But when you're losing, people start to see it in different ways. But also, as I say, it's different with the fan base because they're not enjoying themselves. There were times when I was at QPR, for example, where the drive across to the stadium, it felt like it was getting longer and longer and longer. You get out from your car, and the feeling you have from the fans outside is one where it's not really welcome anymore. Whereas at times, the best case scenario, one of my favourite memories is in the playoff semi-final in 2014. I got to the stadium on the team bus, and we had 2,000-3,000 fans outside the stadium with flares and everything because they were there to support us. But then when we were struggling in the Premier League, people that were outside, you knew they were only there to criticise you. Then you went in the game, you knew they were there to criticise you. When something went wrong, as Stevie said, they're going to criticise you, and they've got every right to do that. But then the mood changes, and those connections and those bonds, they're not quite the same as they are when you're winning. And that feeling that you have where we love football, we love everything about it, that feels like it's a lifetime away. And you're right, Stevie's exactly right. Some people are thinking about the next season, and in some ways, you kind of have to. This is your job itself, because some people say they want to stay and do everything. But then for others, they're realising that if they want to be able to thrive in their careers, and not least of all this year in particular with the World Cup and so on, you've got to start making plans. And once that's the case and you've got one foot out, you'll never be able to get that foot back in.
Tough. Yeah, it's 15 losses so far and 2 draws for Wolves. All right, what would Stevie and Shaka be worth in today's football? Oggy.
Well, listen, Steve, I think. Let's start with Stevie first. Stevie would be in the he would be a very expensive fullback because, to be fair, Stevie was ultra consistent, could play anywhere in the back four, won loads of trophies, ultra consistent. So I think Stevie, you're looking at 60, 70 million for a fullback. I know it sounds a lot, but that's the sort of market you're in. And I think Shaka as well. I think Shaka, proven Premier League goalkeeper over a decade at the top. I think, what's the market rate for a goalkeeper these days? I think you're probably looking 40, 50 million for a top goalkeeper. So, guys, to check, I'll send you my address after the show. Put it in the post.
I tell you what, I wouldn't mind the wages with
I
that.
wouldn't mind that at all.
Aye, the
I'll
wages.
be honest though, I was eating Christmas dinner last night and thinking, oh God, I'm glad I'm not playing for City right now. There's absolutely no. I'm saying there's absolute no way I'm making the cut for Pep. Oh boy. Yeah.
Are you all right? Are you happy with Oggy's?
I'm taking it. Oh, I'm.
So early, aye.
Oggy's my new agent.
Okay,
he
there
just
you go, Oggy.
doesn't know yet.
There you go. Nedum, how do
Don't
you...
put a valuation on Nedum as well. Nedum should get a valuation, shouldn't he?
Oh, well, if
All right, okay.
Then
Listen,
You're on a
man.
roll. He's
Yeah,
on a
go
roll.
on. Yeah.
then you might as well. Then you're fine.
I mean,
Remember, he disagreed with you earlier.
well, this is it.
Remember how happy he said? Remember how he said you were such a happy chappy?
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
They're both sour.
No. I think I'll listen. It's Christmas. I'll be fair. I'll leave Nedum off the list.
Thank you.
Free transfer.
Bosman,
Okay.
thank you.
Nedum,
Thank you.
how do you feel about Pep's rotation of the City squad this season? He doesn't seem to fully trust most outside of the regular starting 11. Will it cost them down the stretch if they don't rotate more?
I think in some ways it potentially will, yes. I think the trust that he has in this core group at the moment, it's working fine in this instance as they're all fit and they're sort of getting into a groove of things. But you do need some of those other players as well. And I think there'll be some level of disappointment in the back half of the season because if he's doing this now, what chance is there of rotation when you're in the final third of the season? Every game carries huge weight to it. I think when, say, Roger comes back in, Kovacic and a few others find, say, extra fitness, then yes, things will be better. But we're also looking to see how will he put in a Marmouche. Is Anaït Nouri going to end up playing more games of football? Because one thing you can't really afford to do, as I'm sure the guys will see, is almost have it where your squad split in two. The people that know they're going to be starting and playing and the ones that know that on a weekend all they do is go and watch City just from the comfort of a heated seat. So you've got to be very, very wary of that. And I think City, when they've been at their best in my time watching them, is when they make sort of 2 or 3 changes every single week. So subtle that the performance remains the same, but so good that essentially morale remains high, because coming the end of the season, even the people we thought that were on the periphery, they still managed to play 20 to 30 games of football across all competitions. So yeah, I think this is good for now, but I don't think it's a good strategy long term, in my opinion.
Do you know, considering all the staff that all these clubs have, particularly we're talking about City, there needs to be somebody at City going around all these guys that are not playing on a regular basis and giving them a piece of advice that I was given when I was 20 and I was travelling with the first team all the time. Wasn't playing, I was either the sub or I was sitting in the stand or whatever. And Roy Evans kept, every now and again, he'd keep coming to me and saying, just you remember to be ready. And it helped every single time, because when you're not playing regularly and you do get a chance, if you're not ready for it, then your next chance is going to be even further away. So I hope there's somebody in that staff going around the players who are doing all the travelling and who are close to playing but don't quite get it, and making sure that they don't just mail it in, and that they train properly and they eat properly and make sure that when that chance comes and you're ready, you take it. And then you're off. Then it's, well, why are you dropping me? Because I've just performed. That's what City need.
Be ready.
Be ready.
What are your thoughts on it, Mark, being so close in the Manchester region?
I think City will be fine as long as Haaland stays fit. I think he's the one player that they've got to look after him, haven't they? If they rotate him every now and again and make sure that he gets his rest when he needs it, I think City will be fine, because they've got enough players in all positions to when push comes to shove, Pep will settle on his best team. And like Nedum said, they've got people like Rodri that'll come back at some point, and Kovacic. I think it's all about one man. It's all about Haaland. If he gets injured, he can rotate as much as he wants with all the rest of his players. That Man City are not going to win the league. So you've got to keep Haaland fit and make sure that he's available when it matters in the last 2-3 months of the season.
Well, Haaland's been keeping himself fit over the festive period. We've even seen the proof when he stepped on the scales. All right, thank you so much for sending in your questions. Thanks to the guys for answering them. We will be back tomorrow, looking back on all the Premier League games that were played on the 27th. Be sure to join us.